Imagine walking through a weekend market with your daughter on her birthday. The air smells of fresh bread, honey, roasted nuts, laughter all around. For a moment, life feels normal. Then your phone rings, and on the other end is your child, crying, saying she's trapped. You run, your heart pounding. And when you find her, she's surrounded by 6 older women, all pointing fingers, calling her sinful, unchristian, heartless. They tell her she's failing her family, that she should obey her grandparents, that she's cruel for rejecting her father's affair children. That was the day my rage broke free. That was the day I stopped playing nice. But let's rewind, because this story doesn't begin at the market. No, this began long before, when my husband, the man I built my life with, decided to betray me in the worst possible way. I was married for over 20 years. I was the breadwinner, the steady one. He, let's call him Mark, was charming on the outside. But beneath the charm was laziness, irresponsibility, and secrets. I didn't know the full extent of those secrets until one evening when my teenage daughters came to me, trembling. They had seen messages on his phone, pictures, love notes, not to me, but to another woman. Their own father's affair exposed, not by me snooping, but by his daughters. Do you know how it feels to look into your children's tear-stained faces and see betrayal in their eyes? To know their innocence has been shattered by the very man who was supposed to protect them. That moment carved something out of me. And as if cheating wasn't enough, there were children. 2 little boys born from that affair. The woman he cheated with later died in the same accident that took him. Suddenly those boys were orphans. And my daughters? They were supposed to embrace them, call them brothers, forgive the man who broke our family, and smile through the pain. At least that's what my ex-in-laws believed. Mark's parents were old-fashioned, controlling, and self-righteous. When he died, instead of mourning quietly or supporting my daughters, they turned vicious. They tried to take custody of my girls. They even demanded to move in with us. My daughters, just 15 and 17, were barely keeping it together. Therapy, late-night breakdowns, endless questions about why their father had done this. And his parents? They weren't helping. They were pushing, blaming, guilt-tripping. In messages, they even called my daughters bastards, told them it was their fault their father died, because they were the ones who told me about the affair, and I filed for divorce. That wound never healed. And then came the market incident. It was supposed to be a special day, my youngest's birthday. We were keeping it simple, a day at the farmer's market, letting her buy whatever little treats she wanted. Chocolate, sweets, pastries, simple joy. After an hour, I noticed she was gone too long. Just as I reached for my phone, it rang. Her voice was shaking, broke. "Mom, there are these women. They won't let me leave." Panic surged. My older daughter and I ran through the crowd, weaving past stalls of fruit and flowers until we found her. 6 women, church women, dressed in pastel cardigans and pearl necklaces, towered over her like vultures. One of them wagged a finger in her face, spitting words like unchristian and ungrateful. Another sneered, "You should be a good big sister to those poor orphaned boys." My daughter, clutching her bag of sweets, looked like a trapped animal. Her eyes begged me to save her. My fury ignited. I stepped in front of her, my voice like steel. "Back away from my daughter." But they didn't. They turned on me instead. "You're a disgrace," one hissed. "You've poisoned your daughters. You should obey your in-laws. That's what a good Christian wife does." Something in me snapped. I don't even remember all the words I said, but I know I made it clear they would never lay their sanctimonious hands or words on my girls again. The shouting grew so loud that market staff asked us all to leave. They followed me to the car, like a swarm of wasps, still buzzing their venom. When I shut the car door and drove away, my daughters silent in the back seat, I knew this wasn't just harassment. This was war. That night, when the house was finally quiet, I sat alone. Anger burned through me, but under it was something sharper. Resolve. My ex-mill thought she could shame us in public? Fine. I'd expose her in public. Not just to strangers, but to the very people whose approval she craved most. Her church. Through a trusted church member, I discovered what she had been up to. She had written a long, pitiful post on the church's Facebook page. In her story, we were villains. According to her, we had left her and her husband destitute, penniless. She claimed my daughters were cruel, refusing to see their grandparents. She even said I had turned them against their innocent baby brothers. But the detail that twisted my stomach? She had told the church those boys weren't products of cheating at all. No, she claimed they were born from a surrogate, that I had been too barren to have more children. And worse, that I had rejected those boys because they were boys, and I only valued girls. I laughed bitterly through my tears. How dare she? How dare she rewrite our pain into a story that painted her as a victim and my daughters as monsters? That night, I pulled out the evidence. During the divorce process, I had gathered everything. Photos of Mark and his mistress taken in our own living room, screenshots of their texts, full of declarations of love, emails from his parents encouraging him to leave me, mocking me, supporting the affair, and the cruelest of all, messages where they bullied my daughters, blaming them for their father's death. The next day, I went to the print shop. I didn't just print them, I printed them beautifully. High-quality paper, clear, undeniable. Then I spent hours at home assembling binders, neat, clean, designed to look exactly like the hymn books the church handed out every Sunday. The first page of each binder, a full-color photo of Mark kissing his mistress. Underneath, Mark and mistress's name, a love story. On Sunday morning, I walked into that church like a ghost, silent, calm. I placed the binders neatly on the back table with the rest of the hymnals, and then I left. By evening, the storm had hit. Gossip spread like wildfire. Congregants flipped through what they thought were prayer packets, only to find page after page of filth, texts, photos, proof of betrayal. My ex and his mistress were branded with words so harsh the pastor himself had to step in to keep things under control. But the worst fallout was for my ex-in-laws. People were horrified by how they had treated my daughters. Apology letters began to arrive at my door, even invitations to join the church for support. But for my ex-Mill and Phil, the shunning was brutal. They were ostracized, shamed, whispered about in pews and parking lots. Eventually, they left the church altogether. My ex-Mill tried to save face on Facebook, writing about how the elderly are abandoned, how no one cares for them anymore, how she wished her wonderful son was still alive to care for them. I couldn't help but laugh. Care for them with what? I had been the breadwinner. Mark hadn't even cared for his own children. And for once, my daughters smiled again. They read the apologies. They saw the truth laid bare. They saw justice. No longer were they blamed, shamed, or forced to carry their father's sins. They were free. Revenge doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with binders, quiet planning, and perfect timing. My ex-Mill thought she could weaponize her church against us. Instead, her lies became her noose. And that, my friends, is karma. So tell me, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Drop it in the comments, smash that like button if this gave you chills, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that prove justice always finds its way.